Online dating is a visual medium. You've got to be presenting yourself well. There's probably two lessons to learn. High potential dates for you. And that's something I teach people.
Today is special because so often we always talk about food and wine, and it's usually for dates, romantic nights out, date night, anniversaries, vacations. Today, we're going to get to the source of what that date's actually about. So with us is a dating expert, Andrea McGinty from 33,000dates.com. Andrea, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Joe. Thank you for having me.
I'm so nervous because so many of us are unsure about dating, but I guess really you're going to help us have confidence instead of nervous. So just to start things off, what inspired you to become a dating coach?
You mean what inspired an accounting/finance major to become a dating coach? Well, okay. So I started this when I was in my 20s. So this is the 1990s, okay, when I started. And there's no Google yet. Online dating is going to happen late 90s, but it hasn't happened yet. And at that point, I was living in Chicago and I was getting married. And 5 weeks before the wedding, he called it off. And it was like, boom. Okay, what do you, first I cried, of course, and anyway, my friends started fixing me up, on dates. You're still in your 20s, and you know how those dates go. They know someone that's single, so they think you should like them, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So, after some of those dates, I was really thinking about it, and I thought, it'd be great if there's a place you could go to that was like an executive recruiter, like you do for your professional life, the same thing for your personal life. And of course, there was nothing like that at the time. And here's the thing, I was always good, like even in high school and in college. I fixed up two of my suite mates, and they're still with their husbands that I fixed them up with. So, I was already good at this. And I thought, you know what, I could start this. Anyway, fast forward, I start a company in Chicago called It's Just Lunch, where people meet for lunch. We do all the, work, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fast forward. And, 15 years later, it's grown, exponentially. We had 110 locations globally, and I sold out to private equity. And the timing was perfect on selling out, because finally, online dating was coming out of its infancy and coming out of like just the mess it was at first. It was the scammers, the crazies, the horrible stories. Nobody was who they said they were. This is like 2010. It was still a mess. So by the time I sold It's Just Lunch, I saw, oh wow, there's a need. People have no idea what to do online and how to date. And I do, and I can help.
I love that. That's a great segue. So we're talking with Andrea McGinty from 33,000dates.com. Andrea, is there one big lesson to learn how to be more successful with dating in today's world?
I think there's a couple. There's probably two lessons to learn. One is you need to understand how to navigate online dating, because there's over 1,400 sites out there. Number two, you've got to be really careful that you don't give up too quickly. And by that, I mean, most people give up in the first 2 or 3 weeks, because they go online, they see a bunch of people. They probably went on the wrong site, by the way, too, like not the right site for them at all. And then they see these people who like them, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is online dating. Forget it. I'm done, gone. And, it goes back to, they didn't do it right. They had no idea what they were doing.
Maybe we're not doing the right thing because we don't know what the right steps are. Can you bring some clarity to that and help somebody understand what are the first 1, 2, 3 steps, 4 steps? I'm not even sure how many steps there are, because even my friends who are married, I'm not sure they would say they dated correctly. So could you give us some tips as to what is the correct way to get through those beginning steps of dating?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. With online dating, number one, you need to be really careful that you're choosing the right site. And, when we're talking about 1,400 sites out there, I tend to work with the top 25 sites. And when I'm working with a client, I start initially with like a Zoom call with a client and get to know them and what they're looking for. And, I work primarily with like the 40 something, 50 something through the 60s age group. So like second time around, a lot of them are second time around daters, second acts type of thing. So, back to the right site. When I'm choosing a site for a client after the Zoom call, I'm thinking about, okay, what sites do I think they belong at? And it's very different if you're in Los Angeles versus Houston versus Washington versus, New York City or Orlando, Florida. It's so different, how the sites function and the type of people that are even on the site. So number one, I think about, okay, what site do I see, this person on? The second thing I do is, I'm strategic too. I use 3 different, companies for research, and I get research on a monthly basis. And it really tells me the percentage of men to women on a site. I mean, there's some sites that are 80% men, there's some sites that are 80% women. And you might be having an awful time on a site because you're a woman and you're on a site that's 80% women. You're in the wrong place, So I do the homework with the research, and that is everything from geographically where you live, level of education, income, all that kind of stuff. And what's that site doing? Is the membership increasing, decreasing? I look at a lot of factors, then choose, put the two together, what I was thinking for them and what the research says. Make sure we're on the right site. So that's step one. Number 2, your pictures. Oh my gosh, I'm like a crazy person with photos, because you have to have really great photos. And I don't mean like LinkedIn kind of photos. I don't mean glamour shots. I mean photos that I'd use like half professional shots, half candids, and not selfies. So, the candids are nice because it'll show you and your friends. It'll show you doing things. It might show you out playing, pickleball, out playing tennis, out having drinks with your girlfriends, something like that. The professional shots, I mean, depending on where you live, you're just going to get some great shots, up against a graffiti wall in Brooklyn, or, a nice shot by the beach that are just a little more, and you want a couple full body shots, and you want the photos to be current. So when I'm saying current, I'm talking about within the last year, maybe 2 years, but, recent, very, very recent photos, because just like you don't want to be surprised when you show up on the date and there she is, and you're like, she has a few more wrinkles and a few more pounds than what I saw online, like it's like you're not, being truthful about the whole thing. So, so great photos. Online dating is a visual medium. You've got to be presenting yourself well. I mean, my LA and Orange County market, Dallas market, they get that. Like they totally, get that. But there's other parts of the country, I'm like, no, we are not putting that picture of you online. There is absolutely no way, Okay, it's great photos. I write their profile, the things people want to write in profiles, and people, once they look at your photos online, if they, like what they're seeing, they're going to read about you. So, it can't be the same old stuff. Like, I like to walk on the beach and I look as good in a tux as I do, it's like, put me to sleep. So short, sweet, interesting, quirky profiles sell. So a lot of times it's hard to write about yourself. That's why it's nice to have somebody like me or somebody, write about you. Okay. The next thing, so you're on the right site. We've got the right photos. We've got your profile. Now it's looking through high potential dates for you. And that's putting in algorithms, putting in search filters. And that's something I teach people how to do it, because otherwise it's like, you're looking like it's like a needle, in a haystack, and you want it like a needle in a little Easter basket. You just want it tiny. tiny, so once we throw those filters and algorithms on, it gets rid of like 80% of the people. So yay, now we're down to like some of these people that, look like high potential. Then we found 10 someones, and now we send them messages. We don't send them a wink, a heart, a like any of that kind of junk, because okay, men get so irritated. This is because half my clients are men. And I don't blame them. They get so irritated with this. Why are these women sending likes and hearts and no message? And I'm like, oh, that's my constant battle with women. And you would think, hey, you're in your 40s, you're not 90, like where women, and women had to wait to be pursued. We're not living in our grandparents' era, right? We're equals. We can reach out to the men too. The messaging is super important, because you don't want the, hi, how are you? Or this is horrible. Hi, you're so good looking. Hi, you're so beautiful. I'm like, really? Really? And it was like copy paste. Like they threw that out to the world. They sent that to everybody. So now you've sent a message. Hopefully she messages back. And the next thing is, let's get that date scheduled. And this can all be done with just a couple texts on both people's part, to be able to say, okay, yeah, I'm totally interested. How's Friday, at 5:30 at Bistro 110? Let's meet for, a glass of wine. Let's go, because chemistry only takes place in real life. So Stanford has been running a study for 20 years, and I follow this study. So follow me here if I can say this correctly. So from the time you first send a message to someone, if the date has not been scheduled within 5 days of that initial text, there's a 90% chance the date will never occur. So when you think about it that way, it's like, oh my gosh, it's not going to happen. So it's like move. And sometimes we'll get replies back, because I am, like, let's go kind of person with the texting. And sometimes, even on the first text, if we've got a lot in common and it looks like it's like a great match, I'll say to my client, we're going to go right for it right now, write a couple cute lines that, are just for that person. And then be like, you know what? I don't really need to text you anymore or talk to you anymore, because I'm ready to meet you. I'm super interested. How's, Friday night, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes you'll get back a reply, what's the rush? And I think to myself, what isn't the rush here? What do you want to talk about? Can't you just get dressed? We both live in Beverly Hills, for goodness sakes. How long would it take us to get together and meet, right? We're both in New York City. Come on, let's do this in person. And then if you're getting those people that are drawing out the process, you either, just cut bait, just block them, goodbye, gone, or you say, you know what? If you don't reply, you're going to end up on my waiting list. So this date is open. Would you like it? And, you do it with a little cute humor, LOL, blah, blah, blah. And that can work too, where people crack up and they're like, yes, I would love to meet you Saturday. Let's grab lunch, whatever.
In today's world of different levels of politically correct, of cancel culture, of different levels of sensitivity, regardless of whether you're in a very conservative culture, progressive culture, etc., how do we make sure we're not being creepy, even if we're not trying to be creepy? How do we deal with cancel culture and creepiness and any level of uncomfort when it comes to online dating?
Okay, so I think you have to remember, first of all, you're not in the workplace dating right now, because that's where a lot of that happened, right? Where you're, above somebody, and we know that's what happened to a couple of people that are in prison right now, right? So, okay, so we're not in the workplace, we're online. So this is where I say, women, you've got a big advantage right now, because you can feel very comfortable and free reaching out to men and get over that whole thing, like women wait to be pursued. Like there was this book that came out in the 90s, The Rules, wait to be, pursued by the man and then don't respond to him for 3 days or whatever. I'm like, what the heck is that about? No. Reach out to men, and with the thought that you're going to be meeting, this person. Now, for men, you're not going to send stupid messages like, oh, you're so gorgeous and sexy and blah, 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 because nobody wants that message. You don't want that message. Oh, you're so good looking and you have a great smile and that's why I want to meet you. I mean, you would find that offensive too if that was the only thing, right? Or maybe not, but most likely. So, as far as men reaching out to women, I mean, just do it in good taste. Women are there to meet men. And creepy doesn't happen very much online anymore. We're out of like that 2000 to 2010 era where more of that stuff happened. There's so many more hoops both parties jump through on top-notch dating sites now and dating apps now that verify that you are who you say you are and verify some information about you. So it's the creepy stuff is, I really rarely see that, where 10 years ago I did. I still saw it, but I rarely see it anymore.
So we're with Andrea McGinty. She's been a dating expert for over 20 years. Now she has 33,000dates.com. That's 33000dates.com. Now, Andrea, most of the people watching this, they're into food. That means fine dining. That's restaurants. They're into wine and cocktails and collecting wine. A few weeks ago, we interviewed someone about insuring their wine cellar. So these people who collect wine, they're traveling often. So what kind of a goal can they look for if they come to 33,000dates.com? When they approach and connect with you, what should they be thinking about and preparing so they know how to best represent themselves in that first conversation with you?
Well, I think just, be real with me. And, people that are foodies and wine collectors, there's a lot of us out there. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that will find that very, very attractive. There's a lot of people that like to try different, wine bars, that like to try different, like to go up to Napa and do, maybe that's not your first date. Maybe that's your third or fourth or eighth date. But, be real with what your interests are, and talking about food. This goes back to what I was talking about a little while ago. Like when I'm writing your profile, when people just say, "Oh, I like Italian food," I'm like, no. Give me something here. I like carbonara with pepper and from Target Trattoria in Rome is amazing, and it doesn't have to be written in a snobby or snooty way, but it's just like fun. Like you're describing like what you like to eat or your favorite foods, or, it could be talking about, you like this vintage of wine, but you also love key lime cheesecake from Cheesecake Factory, which is going to make you very likable that we just went down to Cheesecake Factory from, Michelin starred restaurants, right? So, be very specific with me because that's how I can help you the most and be really upfront. Like no PC woke stuff with me because this is your personal life. And, maybe in your work life, PC, woke, all that stuff exists. But, with me, it doesn't because I'm looking for your partner in life for you. Right. Mm-hmm. So, presenting yourself to me with what your interests truly are is the best way.
Andrea McGinty from 33,000dates.com, dating expert. Andrea, as we wrap up, we're all going to go visit 33,000dates.com. Any final thoughts? Any requests from the audience watching and listening?
I would just say, take a look around my site. Maybe take the dating quiz that I have on the site. It's fun. It's really fast. It's like 10 questions and it goes right to me. It doesn't go to any of my people. And I can kind of rate you and what you're doing and kind of tell you whether or not I can help you too. So if you do take that quiz, give me as much info as you can. I mean, I don't mean personal info, but like where you live, your age, but that's all going to be on there. But take that quiz because that's a good way to contact me and, see if we might be a good fit and maybe I can help you if you really want to meet somebody.